Darts are used to fit the garment to the contours of the body. There are several different types of darts that are stitched and finished in a variety of different ways. The best thing one can do with a dart is pin, baste, and fit the dart to the dress form in order to check that it is following the body correctly and has helped you develop the style that you require for the dart. In order to baste a dart effectively, one must baste the dart very, very close to the carbon trace line, actually on the inside of the carbon trace line toward the edge of the dart as opposed to the garment side. When one comes to the vanishing point of the dart, you should stop your basting at least a half an inch before the vanishing point. That is, my vanishing point is right here where my pin is. I'm going to stop my basting half an inch before that with a little tack so that when I stitch, I will not stitch over my basting thread. Let's go to the dress forms and see how a dart fits on a dress form. We have the body dart, a dart that is pointed at both ends. This is the basted dart. These darts have already been stitched, but the difference in the basted to the stitched dart is almost non-existent, and that's how a dart should show up in the basted stage. When we take the garment off, you should note that both ends of this dart, which are tapered darts, are basted to within 1/2 inch of the vanishing point. And both ends of the dart have been tacked as opposed to knotted. We have a skirt on the dress form. And you will notice that these darts are triangular darts in that they have vanishing points and come to a straight edge, are slightly curved to fit the contour of the body. But indeed, when one bastes a dart that intersects a waistline, the dart is not stitched to the absolute edge of the garment. The dart is stitched only to within 3/4 of an inch of the garment, or when one stitches this dart, and you can see how it is slightly curved, it is stitched about 3/8 of an inch beyond the seam line. This is the type of basting one needs whenever a garment has a fitting involvement at the dart area. as this. The waist is wider above the waistline, therefore your dart should not be stitched closed to the top of the seam line. We have on this dress form a sample of a bust dart as well as a tuck, a dart tuck. Notice that the bust dart is stitched and basted all the way to the edge of the garment, but the dart tuck, by reason of it being a tuck, is only partially stitched or basted and open from 3/8 of an inch beyond the waistline. With the back waist, as an example, there is a neckline dart, and the neckline dart too is stitched to the very edge. But the waistline dart is only stitched to beyond 3/8 of an inch of the waistline. We will try to stitch some of these up for you, so you will notice the differences one has to take in stitching darts. To stitch a triangular dart that starts at the edge of the seam, we start by tacking. Tacking is important at the start of a dart, but when we stitch, we will avoid tacking. We stitch to the vanishing point. You stitch the garment, and remember we did stop our basting 1/2 an inch from the vanishing point, so that you can continue your stitch and keep your stitch along the fold of the garment or the very edge and ride right off. Gently raise the presser foot and draw the garment away from the sewing machine so that you could tie a tailor's knot. One way one finishes darts is by tying a tailor's knot at the vanishing point. We clip our excess threads and remove our basting. In order to stitch a dart that has penetrated the waistline, that is a dart that you've started stitching a few fractions of an inch beyond the waistline, you must come to that point, tack, and then continue stitching. Once more, we will stitch to the end of the basting and continue along the edge of the fold for the 1/2 inch to help you taper. It's very important that a dart be tapered carefully so that it will not leave any puckering on the right side when you are pressing. Another way to finish a dart, as opposed to tying a knot, is to gently continue stitching on the sewing machine, and you're actually interlocking your threads. Leave about 1/2 an inch of thread hanging, and that will sufficiently lock off the top of your dart. And you will see that the vanishing point is just that. You have not formed a pucker. Of course, you must go back and clip off your excess thread and remove your basting. When stitching a curved dart, one continues stitching in the same way, following your principles of following the contour if necessary, or the straight edge, tacking, stitching, and stitching along the very, very edge or the very fold, and stitching off or tying a tailor's knot. The body dart is a little more complicated in that you've got to come onto the vanishing point and then ride off of the vanishing point. One way to do that is by stitching, continuing your thread or chain of stitches and gently riding on to the vanishing point, following the contour of the dart, and once more riding off along the fold and stitching off. In that manner, you're sure to get tapered points at both ends of the dart. A dart tuck is, you have one of two options in developing your dart tuck. We have two dart tucks. Of course, one may start with the tack. In fact, it's essential because you do not want that to come out. You tack and you stitch to the top of your tuck. If you're very, very careful, you may backstitch it, and care must be taken that you do not make a thick wedge of fabric at that point, and then remove your garment from the sewing machine. And clip the threads. Another way to stitch a dart tuck is, once more, to tack it, and at the top of the tuck, turn at a right angle and stitch off your fold, and you may finish your dart tuck in this manner. So you have two different options to finish a dart tuck. A final dart that you may have encountered or may encountered is the contour dart. That's a dart that starts with a seam and ends up with a little bit of a dart. And in stitching that, depending upon where that dart falls to, and as this one penetrated the waistline, we must come to 3/8 of an inch beyond the waistline. We will stitch following the contour of the dart, and care has to be taken because we have a rather heavy dart here. We must again form the little bit of stitches on the vanishing point and stitch off. When this dart is finished, the dart must be pressed open in order to have the proper effect. Now, we will now go to the iron to see how one presses darts. To press darts, one has to be aware that each dart takes a different type of pressing. Some parts are similar, but most have a different type of pressing method. The first thing you have to do to all darts is press the dart closed to the vanishing point. That removes all the puckers from your original stitching line. Now, with darts, straight darts that come to a vanishing point, as this dart, and this dart is the bust dart, bring the garment so the garment is at the vanishing point of the dart on the ironing board. The tip of the ironing board, the tip of the dart. And we will press this dart in one direction. And you'll press it towards the waist, because as this is a bust dart, it usually falls toward the waist. Once your dart is pressed in the right direction, bring your iron under the dart and press out just in case a ridge has been left in the fabric. We now have our dart pressed in the right direction without any pucker. With a dart that has penetrated the waistline or has gone into the waistline seam, and you have stitched it to approximately 3/8 below the waistline seam, you would press the dart in the same manner. First closed, and then bring the dart to the vanishing point and bring that to the edge of the ironing board, and then press the dart. As with all vertical darts, the vertical darts are pressed towards the center of the body, whether the dart is at the center front or center back. You are still pressing that dart towards the center. Once you have pressed your dart, gently move the garment back from the edge of the ironing board and press off the dart. So that will smooth out any pucker that may occur at that point, and press back underneath the dart. And your dart is pressed and smooth and really invisible. When one has tucks, as I do in this particular waist, we still continue to press close. So you first close your darts. Each dart or tuck by itself. Do not press tucks beyond the stitching. With tucks, once more, bring the garment to the edge of the ironing board and point the tucks in the direction you wish them to go, and then press. We then will press behind each tuck to eliminate any type of ridge. And your tucks are pressed. With a skirt, and the skirt darts, as you remember, I stitched them curved, we have to handle that dart a slightly different manner. First, we press them closed. And of course, if you're pressing the darts on a garment, you would proceed to press all the darts closed first. And then you would continue to press them to one side. And with a curved dart, we use a ham. So you can follow the contour of the dart on the ham. And we press the dart to one side, following off the dart at its vanishing point. Back off underneath the dart so you can remove any ridge. Continue to the next dart. In this manner, you will be able to contour it along the sleeve ham. And the whole purpose is to eliminate ridges on the right side and puckers at the vanishing point of your dart and curved darts. With a contoured dart that has been split or trimmed away, we once more press the dart closed And as this is very contoured or very curved, it's essential that you continue to use your ham. This time, pulling away on both sides of the garment helps. Both sides of your dart helps. Open your dart and finger press it, because we're now pressing the dart open. As it is, it's only a little bit of seam allowance, but press it open. With a pointer, one can continue pressing the dart almost to the vanishing point. We then will press with the iron all the way to the tip of the dart. Once you've completed pressing the dart in that manner, return and smooth out any puckers that may have occurred under the dart. And when you're finished, your dart is pressed open. Our final dart is our body dart, or elongated dart that has the double point. And we will first press all our puckers out and stop pressing at the vanishing point, both on top and the bottom. If you were to press beyond the vanishing point, you may permanently crease your fabric. On occasion, this type of dart may need a little bit of a clip to open it up. It is not always essential, but on occasion you may need it. And come to the vanishing point and press your dart, and this is the front of the garment, so we're pressing it towards the center front. Press to about the center of the dart and reverse the garment so you still will have your vanishing point at the tip of the ironing board and continue pressing. Then you press beyond and you've pressed your elongated dart. If your dart needed a little bit of a clip, you would have clipped it in at about the waistline length, and that permits the dart to release the pull on the center of the dart when the garment is worn. And that's how we press our darts.